Before I begin, I have to acknowledge that it's pretty early to be making an analysis video on a film that just came out. I think in order to make a good film analysis, it has to be done as a retrospective so you can look at the culture and politics of the time it was released in. And you shouldn't be impulsive in a movie review because sometimes you can fall in love with a movie and after a few years realize you made a huge mistake. But with all that said, I'm going to make an exception for this film. Fury Road evoked a reaction from me that I haven't had in a movie theater in years, so I had to give it a closer look. So, let's get started. For this video, I'm not going to devote too much time to the feminist angle of the film, because it's already been talked to death in countless articles and videos that you can find online. What I would like to focus on are the film's other political statements that involve religion, capitalism, and dictatorial power. The character of Immortan Joe and the society that he has created embodies the worst aspects of humanity. He rules his people not as a king, but as a god, by creating his own religion of the V8 and Screaming Skull. To me, the most frighteningly accurate thing about Fury Road is the depiction of religion in a post-apocalyptic world. Immortan Joe's religion operates like a death cult, valuing the afterlife more than the physical one. He promises that only he can deliver salvation to his subjects, and in return they must be willing to give their lives on Earth over to him. His most loyal subjects are his war boys, who have been indoctrinated at an early age to serve and die for Joe. The war boys are all young men, but they still think and speak like children.
Not today. Today is my day. Look at you! If you can't stand up, you can't do war!
This is done deliberately so no war boy can think for themselves and challenge Joe's power. The most famous example of this type of early indoctrination was the Hitler Youth in Nazi Germany, but can also be found in modern conflicts where child soldiers are kidnapped and drugged by warlords in order to fight. The use of drugs in battle was also shown in Fury Road, where chrome paint was inhaled before a warboy commits suicide in order to get to Valhalla. Immortan Joe controls the Citadel like a dictatorship, with the godlike leaders in charge of a peasant and military class, controls the natural resources, and more importantly keeps knowledge and information only to himself. When he opens the door to his safe, we get to see what he values most, which are books and music. In order for a dictator to maintain power, the people have to be ignorant and uneducated, because once they are able to think on their own, they can organize and rise up. And that is exactly what happened with his wives. They were educated by Miss Giddy behind his back, and decided to escape to the Green Place instead of living like slaves for the rest of their lives. The last political statement that I noticed in Fury Road, which hasn't been talked about much, involves its three main villains, Immortan Joe, the People Eater, and the Bullet Farmer. Each character represents three different aspects of modern life: politics, business, and law. Joe obviously is a caricature of dictators and political leaders. The People Eater is a fat bean counter who is more concerned with his books than the loss of life.
We are down 30,000 units of gasoline, 19 canisters of nitro, 12 assault bikes, 7 pursuit vehicles, the deficit mounts, and now, sir, you have us stuck in a quagmire.
And the Bullet Farmer is dressed like an English barrister and ends up looking like Lady Justice after he's blinded by Furiosa. So what does all this symbolism mean? Well, I think it leads you to the answer to the film's main question: who killed the world? The world died because all three of these institutions failed. They became perverted and corrupt, wanting only to own and control what was around them instead of serving the people and the planet. The world died, and humanity went with it. Now, this all sounds terribly depressing, but I need to point out that Fury Road is actually one of the most uplifting movies that I've seen in a long time, because it shows its main characters rediscovering their humanity and gives us hope that civilization could come back. At the beginning of the film, the main characters are all considered to be property and not human beings. After Max is captured, he gets a blood bag tattoo on his back. The first shot of Furiosa is of Joe's brand on her neck. We first see Nux in full war paint, wanting to die on the Fury Road. And the first time we see the wives, they're removing their chastity belts. As the film moves along, and the characters start to care for one another, we see them become human again. Furiosa talks about redemption and starting a new life at the Green Place. Nux falls in love with Capable and stops being a war boy, and Max finally tells Furiosa his name.
Max. My name is Max. That's my name.
These changes are also shown in very subtle ways, like Nux and Furiosa's war paint fading away, and Max being able to communicate using words instead of grunts. I would like to conclude this video with a question. What if all these Mad Max stories never actually happened? Could all these stories simply be campfire tales like Homer's Odyssey, told by some tribal chief in the future? I ask this because the Road Warrior, Thunderdome, and Fury Road end with a quote or a piece of narration from a history man.
And so began the journey north to safety, to our place in the sun. Among us we found a new leader, the man who came from the sky, the gyro captain. And just as Pappagallo had planned, we traveled far beyond the reach of men and machines. The juice, the precious juice, was hidden in the vehicles. As for me, I grew to manhood. In the fullness of time, I became the leader, the chief of the great northern tribe. And the Road Warrior? That was the last we ever saw of him. He lives now, only in my memories.
Still and all, every night we does the tell, so that we remember who we was and where we came from. But most of all, we remembers the man who finded us, him that came the salvage, and we lights the city, not just for him, but for all of them that are still out there. 'Cause we knows there'll come a night when they sees the distant light, and they'll be coming home.
History men are typically the teachers or tribal elders who are responsible for preserving knowledge. In Fury Road, for example, Miss Giddy is one of the early history men who acted as a teacher and tattooed important facts on her skin so they wouldn't be lost. So could all these stories of a lone road warrior who came out of the wasteland to help the persecuted and kill the wicked be creation myths told by future history men? Did Max's adventures really happen? Or all of the stories made up in order to explain to children where they came from? I guess only George Miller knows for sure. Hopefully you can dive into this topic in another film, but sadly since Fury Road didn't make much of a profit at the box office, this might be the last Mad Max film we get from him. If it is his last, then it's a hell of a way to go out. It's a rare film that combines great action and commentary that will certainly stand the test of time. Thanks for watching.